We've just learned that the Radford Studio Center used to be the CBS Studio Center. It's the place that gave Studio City its name, is going to be turned over to the bank.
Hackman Capital, the largest independent studio owner in the world, just foreclosed on Radford Studios. And if you work in production, you know Radford. The place is legendary.
This is where they shot Seinfeld and Gilligan's Island and The Mary Tyler Moore Show and Big Brother and so many other things.
But this isn't just about one lot closing down. This is about the collapse of a $10 billion real estate thesis that took over Hollywood. I'm Jason Fisher, the founder of Stage Runner and former head of production at Disney, Paramount, and AMC. Michael Hackman started scooping up studios everywhere, and the Radford Studios in Studio City was a staggering $1.85 billion. But right now, the facility is sitting at less than 50% occupancy, and that's why Goldman Sachs pulled the plug. They looked at the empty stages and realized there was simply no way they can expand and get their money out. I'm hearing lots of rumors right now about what's happening with their other properties. Radford might just be the beginning of the unraveling.
We continuously hear how expensive California is, especially Hollywood, how expensive it is to produce a movie, a film in the state of California. It's exponentially more expensive than if you go to even like New York City, or you go to Georgia, or you go to the UK. I mean, any of those places, more incentive, way cheaper, don't have the litany of taxes that California has, and doesn't have the wage demand for folks that work there. A lot of those people have left the industry, or they have moved to other parts outside of Hollywood because they can't make a go of it in California anymore. California has become too expensive. Some people are saying this story that I'm about to read to you right here is kind of the beginning of the end for California. From a financial position, it makes a lot of sense. Hollywood death spiral. Bank to foreclose on historic TV studios after loan default. You don't see Hollywood studios, defaulting on $1.1 billion all that often. But with the way things have gone for Hollywood, I don't really watch movies anymore. I don't watch new movies anymore because they're all terrible. I think they're not interesting. The storylines they've got barely hold my attention. I'll watch a lot of stuff that comes out like directly on Amazon Prime or directly on Netflix. Any of the stuff, the big box stuff that goes into movie theaters, I'm kind of like, yeah, no, I don't need to see that story. I don't need that nonsense filling up my head. And I'm kind of beyond the whole comic book deal. You know what I mean? Marvel Comics. Who as a kid didn't like Spider-Man or Superman or Wonder Woman or whatever it was? Bionic Man, Lee Majors. God, that guy was great. Bionic Man. TV show, right? Those were some great shows. Am I just old? Am I just like, yeah, I don't really like anything Hollywood is putting out? Because most of it just seems like a bunch of woke crap. It's just nonsense. It's like, it's this woke ideology. We're going to have 20 different transgender characters in this story, and they're all going to be a little wonky, and they're going to work through their issues. And you're like, I don't really need to see that. Give me a good Rambo movie, right? John Rambo. Bank is set to take over ownership. Goldman Sachs is reportedly on the verge of taking control of the famous Radford Studio Center in Studio City, because Hackman Capital Partners can't seem to come up with the cash to stay current on its mortgage. Oh, here's a picture. Here's a picture of Mayor Karen Bass. She's so happy. She's so happy. Hollywood is just not making films anymore. I think they're at like less than 50% capacity. Most of the soundstage and the studio lots, they are way down. Because it's too expensive, because you've layered on nonsense, and you've got huge players like Hackman Capital basically dictating how you're going to make your movies, how you're going to, you're going to rely upon their sound people, their grip people, their whatever people to make your movies. And as a result, they're outrageously expensive because at the bottom, end of the deal, it's in California. So all the taxes, all the regulations, all the nonsense. I was watching a video of The Road Warrior, Mel Gibson, talking about how he recently piled his entire crew onto a plane, did an international flight to somewhere in the UK. I can't even really remember. And it was cheaper to do that, to do like a half day of a reshoot of a scene. They had to change it. It was cheaper to do that, fly halfway across the world, than it was to just go to Hollywood and film it there, which is, backyard, because it's gotten so expensive in California. And it's cheaper for these people to just go elsewhere, go anywhere else. Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia seems to be one of the hot spots as well. We've made the difficult decision to inform the lenders that we must pause further efforts to complete the restructuring. Hackman's HCP Studio Fund wrote in a letter to investors, according to Bloomberg, while disappointing, we do not see a realistic alternative. Disappointing. Hey, about that $1.1 billion. Can't pay it. Sorry. There you go. Here's the keys. You can have back the Seinfeld studio lot. Most of the shows that I never watched a lot of Seinfeld. I thought it was funny, but I don't know. I never really got into it. You know what I mean? Just like a show about nothing. All right. Okay. It was funny. Don't get me wrong. It was funny. Some people just think it was absolutely. I think Rob Schneider is more funny, especially his stand-up now. The collapse, and this is what he's saying, the collapse of Hollywood is happening in real time. The studio lot bankruptcy is the first domino. It all began when these woke companies stopped making entertainment and went into the propaganda and indoctrination business. Isn't that what it seems like has happened? They're trying to indoctrinate our kids into thinking, diversity is our strength. And you're like, no, not really. Hey, everybody, everybody can be trans. Everybody can do this. Everybody can do that. And then all these characters on film, and it's just not really reflective of general society at all or our demands. But they're going to shove this down our throats and we're going to like it. Yeah, I don't go to movies anymore. I was almost going to say I don't rent movies anymore. I do every now and then. What did I rent the other day? I rented something that was, like 30 years old. I want to watch that. All right, Amazon's going to, even though I'm already paying for Amazon's going to charge me $2.99. Boop, done. Right? And then half the time on Amazon, you got to watch commercials. So it's like I'm paying a premium for Amazon Prime, and yet I'm watching movies with commercials. And you're left with, what am I supposed to do here? Not watch something? All right, I'm just going to go get a book. Sometimes you don't want to do that, right? Radford, where series such as Seinfeld and Gilligan's Island. Let's talk about Gilligan's Island. That's probably the most epic show of all time. I mean, the skipper, Mary Ann, Ginger. Oh, my word. The professor. It's a great show. I love that show. I used to hustle back home from school when I lived in Snohomish, went to Monroe Christian Elementary, grades 1 through 3, and I would hustle home, and I vividly remember hustling home to make sure that that I was able to meet the 4:30 beginning of the first episode of reruns of Gilligan's Island, because who wants to miss that? I mean, anything could happen. I mean, they might get rescued. We don't really know. Yeah. Gilligan's Island. That's an epic show. It was funded in this lot was funded in 1927 when a bunch of stuff happened. And then other fame shows include Gunsmoke. Watched that a little bit, but a lot of that just kind of went over my head. Get Smart, same thing. Went over my head. My Three Sons, I watched some of that. Again, these were kind of like more adult shows, and I was a kid when they were popular, or they were just in the rerun type stage, the initial rerun stage. Bob Newhart, I liked Bob Newhart. Mary Tyler Moore, no, I was no on that. So the investment group says that its own partner is working against them. Uh-oh. HCP accuses the organization tasked with managing the studio's MBS group of working at odds to prevent restructuring plans. MBS delivered a proposal requiring significant adverse changes, yada, yada. HCP bought the studios in 2021 from Viacom CBS for $1.85 billion. Remember in 2021, everybody was sitting at home going, when is this effing Rona going to be done, right? And some states were already doing that. I don't know about you, but I'm here in Washington State. We were ratcheted down so hard. Businesses weren't open. Restaurants weren't open. But the big ones were. Costco was open. Well, people got to be able to get their groceries. And you're like, yeah, you're just allowing the big ones. What about mini marts and stuff? It was a very difficult time to be a resident of Washington State, because based on the data and the science, which did not support any of what was going on, that's what we had happening. And we're watching like Texas and Florida just basically pull their COVID regulations right from the get-go as quick as they could without looking like complete jackasses. And they went for it. They just went for it. And then, you had a bunch of California politicians and politicians from elsewhere going to Florida for their vacation because Florida was open for business. Just a bunch of absolute hypocrisy. But in 2021, we had all kinds of shows being produced because everybody was sitting at home going, I got to watch a show. Because you couldn't go out. There was nothing open. It was just locked down. The whole world was on lockdown because of the flu. So, along with the general decline of the entertainment industry, the company was hit with an expensive lawsuit in 2024 when a worker died after falling through rotted flooring on the property. Well, I mean, that's kind of an issue. That's kind of a problem, isn't it? Yeah. Boop, fell down. Killed him. Did it kill him? Died after falling through rotted flooring on the property. How horrible. Okay, so that's a liability issue. But to me, what has happened is, and I've got a fun fact of where are all the movies filmed now that have moved out of California because it's too expensive. That was a Perplexity search. I use Perplexity for all my stuff because it integrates really well with video and news articles, and that's what I do for you, right? We got Georgia. We got Georgia. 30% credits, though some Marvel films have shifted abroad. Atlanta remains a hub. New Mexico. Netflix major facilities in Albuquerque. Credits up to 40%. Funding boosted to $130 million in 2025. So New Mexico is kicking in $130 million just as incentive money to the film industry. And I think Los Angeles, Hollywood is at like $75 million. I mean, California is just so broke that they can't throw out all this money and make it, with their tax basis. They can't do what they used to be able to do. New Jersey, New Jersey making films, right? Making content. New Jersey, because it's affordable to do there. 100% filming increase in Q3 2025. Just, they figured it out, right? They got their incentives. Netflix and Paramount hubs opening soon. Because it's a cheaper version of New York. And New York is really kind of come around. Emerging spots like Louisville, Kentucky for incentives on films like Dead Man's Wire. Louisville, Kentucky. My grandfather went to University of Louisville for med school. And then he got shipped off to the European theater. He was, doctor in the Army. But University of Louisville. He didn't have great things to say about that experience, but got his med degree and then got shipped off immediately to Germany. Oof, pass, hardcore pass. No thanks. But California, we've got international, we've got UK, England, we've got Canada, Vancouver, Toronto, and Ontario. We hear about movies being made all the time in Vancouver, Australia. Mexico, Australia. Gasoline there is like $10 a gallon right now, and soon to go to like $20 a gallon. They are having some major supply chain issues, and they've only got about 30 days worth of diesel, petrol, whatever. 30 days is kind of their floating average of what they've got on stock. That could be just disastrous for Australia. And then we've got coming in fourth on this list, we've got Mexico. Mexico. You know what the common theme here is? Anywhere but Hollywood. Anywhere but California. because you've got so many things working against you from an affordability standpoint. Who would shoot a film in California? Now, the thing that you can't replace, you got the beaches. You've got all the different climates within a couple hour drive. You got the high desert. You've got the beaches. You've got forests. You've got all those epic things that are uniquely California. But some of those things cost so much money, and they've been bringing down the fees on those. But it's like, people here in Seattle trying to create affordable housing. How are you going to do that? It's all this other stuff. When you're paying $6 a gallon for your gasoline just to get around, everything's going to be more expensive than a Florida or a Texas, right? Where gas is half that. So this notion that, Hollywood is still viable, I think we're seeing, if not a major restructuring, we are seeing that the film industry basically leave and it being spread out to multiple locations all around the world because they're a better place to make movies. They're a better place to make content. And people have figured it out. Hey, I could go to Georgia and it's a lot cheaper there. I can go see Tiff Tiff in her Atlanta mall. I can see the Supermare in her clothing store in Atlanta, Georgia. Or not. So I think this studio going down is probably on the front end of seeing a bunch of foreclosures and a bunch of liquidation because the numbers simply aren't there for California and specifically Los Angeles and Hollywood to keep doing what they were doing because their numbers are so far down. And even if they did crank back up, are the people around that needed consistent work that haven't been able to get it for the last 3, 4, 5 years in California, they've moved on. They had to move on. It's like any industry. When you take a big dive, real estate industry, a lot of people moved on because it just hasn't been the activity to make that go. California, Hollywood, same drill. So we're going to call this the Hollywood doom loop. Who doesn't love a good doom loop, right? Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.